Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Sabine Rinkhofer. I'm head of IT of the Cineplexx group. In the beginning, I would like to say a few words about Cineplexx. I think many of you will know we are a cinema chain. We are the biggest cinema chain, the cinema operator in Austria. Our headquarters are in Vienna, and we operate in 12 countries in Southeast Europe and Northern Italy, so the German-speaking part of Italy. So we have a lot of languages, we have 3 different alphabets, and yeah, quite a zoo of applications, as you can imagine. We had 11 million visitors last year. As you know, we sell cinema tickets and food and beverage. You can pick up some popcorn at the Objentis booth after the talk. We consider ourselves to be an innovation leader in cinema technology. We put a lot of focus on a digital journey of the customers. We want to make it as seamless and as a great experience as possible. Yeah, and we want to diversify the appeal of cinema as a customer experience and as an entertainment.
Thank you, Sabine. Good morning from my side. I'm Reinhard Schüller, representing Objentis today. Thanks, guys, for being with us on the stage, showing what you have done in the last years with our software. Objentis is an Austrian company. Some of you might know us, some of you not. We are still owner-managed since 1999, about 50 people. In the team, we have a testing and quality deeply in our DNA, so we are concentrating on test consulting, test management, and so on. And we have about 7 years of experience with AI. Yet, because we started 7 years ago with our own product, we developed Drvless as an AI-powered test automation software. We are selling this since then in the market, especially in the DACH region. These are some of our customers. Cineplexx is one of these, and we are working together with the major IT consultancies in the market to bring the software to the clients together with Richard's institutions as well. So hope you enjoyed the talk. Guys have already prepared for that, and I will hand over back to, I think, Isabel or no, Sabine.
Yeah. I already mentioned some of our challenges. So we have an international setup. We have central IT operations here in Austria. So we are responsible for the software for all countries. We are responsible for testing in different languages, different alphabets. We have a very high release frequency of website versions, of app versions. We have, of course, an Android app, an iOS app. So if you multiply that by the number of countries, by dev system, stage system, live system, it gets quickly a very high number that we need to test, a very high number of test cases. The UI is very variable, as you can imagine, because each screen, each hall, each seat map looks different. And with conventional tools, it was very, very difficult to get them understand how a seat map works, how to pick a seat, how to pick a seat category, how to pick a ticket type. Yeah, of course, this is really business critical, our user journey. So we make a couple of millions turnover via our online channels. And we ran quickly into the limits of manual testing. So we had a lot of people testing manually all the use cases all the time for all countries. And that's when we said, okay, we have to change something and we have to automate. And Isabel is our expert for automation, so I hand over to you.
Yes. Hi, from my side as well. I'm part of the IT applications team. And we can connect the goals to the challenges, I would say, because Sabine already told you about all the challenges we faced with our manual testing. So the goals were, of course, reducing the manual regression testing and enabling a faster feedback cycle prior to new releases and deployments. Therefore, we decided it would be best to automate across all applications, devices, and platforms. And I will talk about this in detail later, but another focus point was the effort required to automate in multiple languages, multiple alphabets, and as Sabine said, we have a lot of business critical user journeys, a lot of parameters, so we needed a reliable, repeatable testing for all of those business critical end-to-end flows.
And to achieve that, we were lucky that Cineplexx chose our software Drvless to do this. What we will hear a little bit later, just to give you a short overview about Drvless. Drvless is a visual test software automation solution. It enables technology-agnostic, non-invasive and non-code test automation. You will see this afterwards in the video, or you can see it outside at our booth. We're using AI to recognize, interact, and of course interpret the application that is seen on the screen of the test of the user. And we're using also UI recognition, graphical recognition, to do that and dynamically adapt if the UI changes. Next, please. So what we really like to talk about is always we're testing an application with the software like a user would do that. So everything what is seen on the screen is adapted by the software and converted into code more or less. And how this is working and how this is looking like at Cineplexx, I would like to hand back to Isabel.
All right, I will start by summing up again the relevant features for our automation process. Of course, the realistic end-to-end user journey simulation. As Reinhard said, it is technology agnostic, so we can do it across all applications, devices, and platforms. The visual UI recognition is very important because of the high variability in parameters, which Sabine mentioned before. The no-code creation allows a very approachable automation. Loops, generally logic, conditions, they are very easy to implement in Drvless. With Drvless, we can come to a point where we have fewer repetitive manual tests, leading more time and more resources to our IT team, which then can focus on more complex tasks. Because it reacts dynamically to UI changes, it requires minimal maintenance. And in just a moment, I will introduce the execution lists and functions. So if you're interested, just keep listening. I will now outline our case study. And before we get to the real test case, which I will show you in just a bit, I want to share some general information how the automation works in Drvless. Here we are in the graphical editor. Generally speaking, it is possible to automate either with those graphical blocks or a simple sentence in natural language. There's also a capture function. If you're interested in that, just come to our booth later, we will be able to show you. So how does the graphical editor work? We have those blockly commands which we can put together in order to automate our test case. So we have several categories: mouse, keyboard, commands, verification, relative addressing, working with tables, and so on. Here you can see the quick access, which basically focuses on the mostly used blocks. On the right side, you can see all those blocks put together to create a very simple test case. Please also note the type, which can be, which refers to the object detection, the graphical and UI detection of Drvless. All right, so how is Drvless used exactly in our company? We use it for website testing and app testing. Here we have a short example of what a test case would look like in our business and our operation context. Just a short side note, I shortened the test case a bit for you, so at this point we are already logged in. And I will now start the video. We start in the editor, and then we start the execution. Here you can see the augmented view. You see all of the objects which are detected, the anchor points, texts, items, and so on. Underneath you see the live view, which is currently recorded from the screen. And on the right side, over here, you have the live log, which indicates all of the steps, all of the blocks included in a test case. And if I continue, you will be able to see how the status of those blocks is also visible. For instance, we found the text Saalinfo, which means hall information, and because it is there, it is verified, it is successful. We are currently buying tickets for our suite hall, which we have in Westfield SCS. It is a special screen layout, a very advanced experience of cinema, I would say, and we are buying it with our extra card, which is part of our loyalty program. Therefore, we want to verify that we have a discounted ticket price. And we want to verify that as soon as we click pay, we actually pay and do not get forwarded to our payment provider. We wait and we verify that it was successfully completed. And the test case is successful. Usually, our test cases also include email success, email delivery, verification. It also includes being able to download the tickets, being able to verify that multiple parameters are successfully verified and visible on screen. As I said, in order to shorten it up a bit, I only showed you a selective part of the test case. Now maybe you're wondering, we did the website testing, how would it work on an Android app, for example, and we also automated our Android app, which is mobile testing, of course. As you can see, it looks quite similarly. We also automate with the graphical blocks. The only difference is we use a software adapter for our website testing and the hardware adapter for our mobile testing. In case you're interested, you can come to our booth. We will show you everything in detail. So the execution of the test run, the mobile app, works the same way. You can see the augmented view over here. You can see all the detected elements. You can also see that it is possible to create icon templates, meaning you're able to teach Drvless to detect certain elements and look for them. For instance, we have our location information down here. You see it yellow. This is something we defined ourselves. So moving on, of course, there are test cases which use let's say they use parts of other test cases, and it's very important that in order to make the automation process easier, to be able to reuse parts of test cases over and over again. And functions are also implemented in Drvless. So functions allow you to create reusable components for test cases and therefore simplify the implementation of repetitive steps that occur across multiple test cases. You can see on the left side here, the purple part, it is the function. And you can also see that it is able in the function, which you can see over here in detail, it is possible to define parameters, which we have the gift card barcode here. And if the function is called, the parameter is passed on to the function. Meaning I can also define several parameter details in the test cases themselves, but in general, if something needs to be edited, I can do it centrally in the function. Important are also the execution lists, which are a collection of a number of test cases that can be run in a specific order. And they are generally recommended when various test cases need to be run on a regular basis. In the picture, at the bottom of the screen, you can see our suite ticket purchases, for instance, with all different payment methods, and they are executed regularly. It's also possible to schedule those test cases. For instance, if I want to run the test cases weekly, if I want to run them daily, it is possible to do just that. We have a lot of execution lists, and they run regularly in order to ease our manual regression testing. All of those functionalities, they still need to work if there is a new feature added, if there are bug fixes, and so on. All right, so to sum up, what is the impact on testing efficiency and release stability?
Yes, we estimate that we saved a manual labor of about 20 hours per week, and we get much, much better quality because we could never test all the test cases, as Isabel mentioned, from the beginning to the end with payment. Did I get the email? Can I cancel the ticket and get the refund and everything? So we could never have done this. So we have a reduced workload for the IT team and get an improved stability and quality.
Yes, another significant factor is the early bug detection, which improves the quality of our releases, and we were able to determine several bugs which we would not have been able to find if we had to do all of the manual testing, simply because of the time constraints and how many test cases we actually need to test. So moving on, low maintenances is another important part. As Reinhard said, it generally reacts dynamically to UI changes, meaning if there is another feature added, I do not need to change all of the test cases, because in most of the cases, Drvless is just able to find the text I'm looking for, the object I'm looking for, because it does not disappear even if there is another button added, for instance. Cross-platform automation, it just makes the whole testing process easier for us. Why? Because we have a uniform test automation process. We do not need to use several tools for mobile testing, for iOS testing, for Android testing, for website testing, and so on. This also leads to scaling across multiple languages because of this uniform testing environment.
Yes, and to sum it up a little bit, when you're looking for a new or a different kind of approach for test automation, you should take a closer look at these points here. Maybe some of them have already been mentioned by Isabel and Sabine. Just to take the last one out, it's I think the discussions all of you see this in the papers, on the platforms, on the IT platforms. Support of sovereign IT strategies becomes more and more important for us in Europe. And the solution Drvless supports you, because you can deploy Drvless for sure in Asia. We are Asia partners. We are available on the Asia marketplaces since a month or so. But you also can run Drvless on your own hardware, in your own data center, in your private cloud. So this is very important, that this is a solution from Europe for the European market especially, just to summarize it. And the maintenance strap, of course, is very important. And the last thing, how easy to use it. You just need this box for a start. Just plug it into your desktop when you're a tester, when you have access to the applications that you want to test, and you can start within hours. We always have the first results with our customers, with the interested ones. So this is all you need at the end of the day. I think you're using it for mobile testing.
Yes.
So I think we have been very quick. If you want to have more information on the use case, Sabine and Isabel have been talking. This is the way to get the information, and of course you can visit us at our booth. Sabine and Isabel will be there for questions and answers, but of course, time for question and answers. Alex, please.
Do you have this? So, are there some questions from the audience?
Small questions about the app testing part. You mentioned you're testing real hardware. My question is, can you also test on simulated phones for so you can get more parallel executions?
Can be done, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to ask, did you move from manual testing directly to AI-assisted automated testing, or did you try to have the the automated testing like Playwright or Cypress or something, and then move to AI?
Yeah, I think we tried shortly some testing tools like Selenium, and it did not work because our website looks different every day, and the way it's programmed, it's not. We could not really recognize all the elements, let alone the seed map. So we moved basically straight from manual testing with small detours to the AI testing.
And another question about the box. What does the box do? Like, why do we need the box?
The box just helps you to get the signal, the HDMI signal, and interprets it. The software is running on it. You can also run the software Drvless as an executable on your machine, on your desktop or on your laptop. But you can also plug in the adapter.
You plug it in between monitor and PC?
Yes. You plug it into the PC, yeah. And in this case, when you do the app testing on the device directly, you plug it also on the device. Yeah, but you can show it outside on the booth, yeah, if you're interested.
Is there any more question?
Thank you. I have two questions. One is regarding accessibility testing. Do you also automate this? And the other one is regarding maintenance. You showed that you have, or it looked like at least, you have two test cases, one for Android app, for example, and one for web. Are they two separate test cases and you have to maintain both? Or do you have one test case and you can just change the device?
So I would answer the first question about the accessibility testing. No, we don't do this on a regular basis. We do this from time to time, and it's done manually.
But maybe something to add. I think parts of accessibility testing would be possible with Drvless. For instance, what we do is we have some test cases set up to test if also using just a keyboard gets you to finish the payment process. So this is something that is done. So of course you need the visual input for Drvless, but generally it can be a test case can be done in our instance just using buttons, just using the keyboard and so on, and the mouse, and not clicking with the mouse on a certain item, but using tab, for instance, and enter. This is something that we already do. Regarding the test cases, yes, at the moment we have multiple test cases set up for website testing and app testing, simply because there are some differences in the UI. For example, our website uses text instead of icons in order to navigate. So as you were able to see, the website says locations, events, and so on. In our app, we currently have only the icons at the bottom of the screen. Therefore, we implemented different test cases. And of course, we have to maintain them differently. But as I said, not every UI change requires us to do maintenance on all test cases. And also, if there is maintenance needed, it is usually very quickly, because I can see, for instance, if I need to update a function, I see all the dependencies, I see where it is used, and mostly it's just that some text has changed or something, then I can simply input the new text that gets detected on the screen. So generally, compared to standard automation tools, it is a shorter maintenance process. Also important to mention is the reporting, which is available, of course. So for test cases and execution lists, there's a very detailed report regarding the execution, regarding the run of the test case, which you can also look up the historical data, of course, and it includes information how long each step took, for instance, or why an element could not be detected. You see how what was actually clicked, for instance. So there's also a lot of information regarding that if test cases fail.
Okay, but what is like, you have a desktop app and you have different languages, so the output except the exactly wording is different. You use for that two different test cases as well, or is it one?
Do you mean different languages?
Like in German
automated?
and English.
Yes.
Do you use for the same use case, for the same test, two automated tests? Or you can just use one and say, I want it in this and that and the other language?
Usually we create two test cases for that. As I said, if we only use the keyboard to navigate, the language does not matter like that, but I would say the multiple language setup is also kind of easy to automate, because you already have this skeleton, you already have all the graphical blocks in the right order. Therefore, you just change, for instance, the wording, and you can just basically copy paste what is seen on the screen. You already know how the German test case runs, how it is set up, and therefore creating it in a different language takes about 10 minutes, I would say.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
My question would be about integration into other softwares, for example, CI/CD, or I don't know, Atlassian Jira. You talked about reporting. What are your experience about integration to other systems?
Maybe you can give some general information.
Yes, we have CI/CD integration. For more details, just come to our booth, the technical guys. On the other hand, we have a standard integration, for example, to X-ray. And we are normally, if this is requested, we are building this on customer-specific requests, which doesn't take that long. So it took us 3 weeks for SAP Calm, for example. So no issue. Thank you.
At the very back.
Gotcha.
Do you have any kind of integration to some kind of performance and load testing? For example, integration to Dynatrace or anything like it to measure your performance towards the end customer, towards your task working force or whatever?
Rainer, do you want to add something? Or?
Not at the moment. No.
Yeah. We also do not use it. What we do is we take a look how long an execution list takes, for instance, compared to a prior run. This is something we do so we can see, for instance, if there was an increase in time when we added a new feature. This is something that we can, of course, check with all the reports, but regarding your question, no, not at the moment.
Another question about your tool stack. Maybe it's a powerful tool, as I understood, and you can do a lot of things focused on test pyramid, UI testing, maybe end-to-end testing.
what are the other tools, or do you use other tools like for API testing and so on for the test pyramid below UI testing?
So for testing, no, but of course we have monitoring systems starting from CheckMK to various end-to-end monitorings. We do this with other partners. But this tool is really used for testing, and we also played around with some process automation, so where it's not only testing, but we can, as you can see from the flow, you can automate any process that needs some UI interaction, because some processes you can't really automate without UI. But performance or monitoring, that's all extra, and it has no link currently, but it would be great to get these features so that you get an alert. This time the test case took 3 times as long as last time, so that would be a really good feature, yeah.
What is currently possible is to schedule emails with an SMTP server setup. So for instance, I can get the report sent via email, so I would not need to log in and check all the reports on the web interface, but I get a message and I can check all the details via email, which is also a nice detail, I think, but yes.
And you mentioned the end-to-end testing. We can do end-to-end testing with this solution. So everything what you capture on the screen, and even if the first step starts in Microsoft CRM, the next is SAP, you can capture that. So we can do this via any kind of application as long as you have a UI. We have for example, next week a webinar with another customer, maybe an insurance group. We will exactly show that. They have a lot of testing there. So from old legacy systems to SAP, host applications are tested with this kind of solution. Question?
Yeah, I think the questions similar to the things you mentioned. How do you test cases where you need some specific test user setup, where maybe you have to do some changes in the CRM, or maybe you have to run a script to, I don't know, that user has no verified email? How does the UI look like then? Do you do everything with UI assertion? Are there other ways to hook in some other tools? Second question is, how long does the tests run? Everything combined?
Would you like to take the second one?
Yes, I will start with the second question. It's kind of hard to estimate, because if we have an Austrian release, an Austrian deployment, we only run the Austrian tests. But I would say the core functionalities regarding payment, for instance, all of the test cases, they run 15 minutes with all the payment methods. But of course, the whole website, it also includes checking links, for instance, checking the language switch. So yes, I would say over an hour, all the features of the Austrian website for sure. Then also app testing, I would estimate the same time. And we, as Sabine mentioned, as we all say, we have a lot of different countries, a lot of different websites with different languages. So yes, it takes some time, of course, and that's also why the 20 hours come from, because testing all those functionalities manually was not possible. I hope that answers your question.
That's the first question with the integration of other tools if needed. We have an API there, but this is always done on customer basics. So there's not a standard solution. The API is standard, of course, but every customer needs different kind of integration, and that is done on a project. But we have a colleague from our development team today at the booth, so if you want to discuss this in detail, I would like to invite you to the booth and get some popcorn as well. And we have a raffle there, so you can win some tickets from Cineplexx. Other questions? Oh. I take the lady first.
Just a quick one, just to get an idea of how many people are you in the development, and are you developing the software basically in-house, or are you like getting that from somewhere else? And what's the contrast between how many developers do you have and how many people are on the test team?
Yeah, so we don't develop anything in-house. So we either we buy off-the-shelf software, but that doesn't need that much testing. In the case of website and app, we work with an agency, with a company, and yeah, we have our applications team are 6 people who are responsible for all of Europe. So it's rather lean. So we have to be very careful what we need. What we do with the labor, but we don't develop anything ourselves.
Thank you.
Hello, yeah, thank you for your presentation. I like it that you test really also the thing which actually really affects the end customer and the end user. And so I'm interested, or my question is, do you have kind of set up some quality metrics that you know what you need to test, you know what affects end user quality in order to prioritize what test cases you need to create or in order to improve?
So yes, I will start. If you want to add something, please do. We had years of experience from the manual testing. We are well aware of what the functionalities of our website incline, and therefore we already had a catalog, a portfolio of all the test cases we did manually, a structured summary of everything that needs to be tested. And of course, our core functionality include our business critical user journeys, everything where payment is involved. Of course, there are many other test cases which affect the overall quality of our website, of our apps. But as soon as there is money involved, of course, this is something, a core functionality that needs to be working regardless of other parameters. So therefore, the core functionalities were the starting points of our automation process, I would say. We started with all the different payment methods, paying by card, paying by extra card, paying by gift card, and so on. Then we moved forward to our reservation, our booking process, which is also something a lot of customers use here, that also needs to work. And then we got to the point where we were able to automate the linking, for instance, of legal documents and so on. So the manual catalog got slimmer while the automated test cases increased. So yes, we started with the core functionalities, but again, we had the experience from the manual testing, and therefore we just prioritized the core functionalities which we had in the portfolio, and then kept moving from there.
No questions left? So again, I would invite you to our booth to meet the guys there, to talk to them. Thank you a lot for your participation here. Thanks.
So thank you, Isabel, Sabine, and Reinhold. So you can enjoy now your coffee break until 10:50. And so